Lanzarote, one of the Atlantic's Canary Islands, and a destination renowned as an international sailing venue and a mecca for holidaymakers the world over. However, just 72 nautical miles away lies a coast where development was halted long ago. A coast that's never benefited from the riches of tourism, where the people rely on the sea not for pleasure, but for food. 2003 saw one man's pipe dream turn into a reality as Tilla Braddock organised a sailing challenge to reach the coast of the Western Sahara, with the aim not just of bridging the physical gap between continents, but also the cultural one. Throwing down the gauntlet and challenging others to join him, he found he didn't have to wait long for takers, as professional, semi-professional and the downright crazy crawled from the woodwork to grab their chance to make history. On a collection of kites, windsurfers and Hobie cats, they set course for Africa. But with the elements against them all the way, one by one they were forced to concede defeat. With windsurfer Ben Atkinson the last to give in, still 50 miles short of the Moroccan coast.
At the end of the day, it was Tilla's call to pull me in. I was furious, I was frustrated. Once you start something like this, you don't want to stop. I mean, I'm barely going on the board, barely getting the board going, but I'm just, always assuming, well, maybe it could pick up. What if the wind picks up?
Continuing their journey on the fleet of safety and escort boats, stocked full of wheelchairs and other aid for the Moroccan hosts, they finally arrived at the town of Tafaya, and to a site that none of them had imagined. With little infrastructure and poverty on a massive scale, they were nevertheless welcomed as heroes. Happy they could bring some help to the area, yet guilty they'd not brought more, they returned home resolute that together with Youth United, they would see the people of Tafaya once again.
Well, Youth United, we started about 2 years ago as an organisational concept, which basically the idea, it runs extreme events, and it runs extreme events with a motive. The concept, which isn't really much talked about, is it really started when there was a lot of wars going on around the world, really, with what's happening in Iraq and what's happening in other places like Afghanistan. You feel fairly helpless to be able to do anything about it. And also some people can go and protest, and which is great, they're doing it, protesting against war. Because I think the younger generation I think the majority of people are very much against it, and realise that it gets you nowhere. What works is communication between countries and sitting down and working things out. And the Dash is not a political event, and it's not a religious event. The whole idea is about sharing cultures, about understanding other cultures, and about going to other cultures. And I think with the youngsters who are taking part in the Youth United concept, each one of them comes back from somewhere like the Sahara, Morocco, Africa, with new views and new feelings and a new concept on life and what life's about and where we're going with it. Sport everyone can relate to. I mean, war no one can relate to. It doesn't make sense. And the fact that you can leave so many children without parents, and every soldier with a gun in Iraq or in Afghanistan, whether he's with the Taliban or whether he's with America, is a man with children at home. And for me, the whole concept with Youth United is trying to push an idea forward where we can express ourselves that you can overcome issues by facing them and actually going to the places and actually getting involved with the people and with the places and building things together.
I think the turning point for me on the Dash was when Louis came in as race officer. I think last year Tilla was trying to run everything himself, and he's a great ideas guy, but when it actually comes to running an event, you need someone that's experienced in that.
When Louis came over, and as soon as he arrived on Lanzarote, there's been an 8 months build-up to organising the race, finding sponsors, getting going. But it was great to have Louis there the week before and just to take over everything, which meant then, I had time then to prepare myself really for the race itself.
It's the meeting. It's the last meeting for the Dash, which is tomorrow, starting tomorrow. We're all going to get the last little points, bits and pieces, yeah. Hopefully we're going to find out the last details from Louis. for us it's not good. We're supposed to be going on the Hobie Cat, on the Hobie 15. We're the only Hobie Cat to go. Unfortunately, our support boat's pulled out this afternoon. We've also had a little problem on board where we've got something broken, so we're going to fix that later. But the support boat, we're hoping we're going to find another one now, at the last hour. We'll see.
Evening before the event, and competitors and crew are gathering for final safety preparations. Holding events on the water have always had their logistical difficulties, but with over 200 people crossing on such a large flotilla of craft, any mistakes could spell disaster.
Okay, with the sailing instructions, nothing is new in this document. Everything has been talked about before.
My job in this year's Dash was as race director, which basically, well, if you go back to the year before, there was no race director. There was nobody actually organising the event. It was just a whole lot of people trying to push something together, and it worked.
We have 227 people participating in this regatta. We have to be very careful that we know how many people leave, how many people arrive, and how many people come back.
The way this year's increased with the number of people, the number of boats involved, we had to get pretty serious, which means you've got to put a proper structure in place, proper security in place, and look after the people. We wouldn't be able to get away with what we got away with last year. So my role was to manage all aspects of that, make sure that we brought in people for doing safety, that we brought in a cover, a network, a communication system, so that wherever people were and whatever they were doing, we could look after them.
Passports and everything's going on here now, we'll look after, then that will go to...
Are you going to keep it the passport?
I'm going to keep the passports and that'll go to customs the other end. We'll sign you in.
What we will be doing is at 7 o'clock you must be in your boats, you must have your waiver signed, and you must have your safety equipment ready at hand to show to coordinators which will be down by the boat. The way we will do this to make it as easy as possible, we will have 3 stations on E pontoon, which will have 3 people, 3 coordinators, and you must come into one of those berths and you must get checked off, your equipment will be signed, and then you go out. You might have to wait around, but everybody's going to wait until the last person anyway, you'll just be outside, so you will need your patience. It's very, very important we leave that the race starts at 8 o'clock on the dot. For many reasons. One, we will have helicopters in the air with television crew. Secondly, we've got 40 boats, we've got a whole lot of people. If we don't start at one specific time, it will be chaos. We only have 14 hours of daylight. We can't sit and wait for the wind. Most probably, we won't have much wind in the morning. I think everybody feels that.
The exception to the rule would be Kumar Dadlani and Andres Fernandez, who, attempting to make the crossing in a 2-man kayak, will be leaving the night before and attempting to row to Africa overnight.
We are going to do it without using any assistance from the boat which is coming along with us, no? The main problem was the water we need for the whole journey, which is nearly 40 to 50 liters. So we have a tank here prepared for that.
Wind again. It's not looking good so far, is it?